How can we achieve world peace? A question many people have asked but no one seems to have clear answer to, at least not a somewhat scientific one. Why is that? Well, because pretty much every rational individual will say that it's impossible. I mean, there's no way we could achieve this, right? Well, with the current methods people use today, I would agree with you. But that is because the people that are trying to tackle this issue are doing it like frickin' amateurs. Why do I say that? Well, given their lack of results, I say they must be going in blind without knowing what they're doing. Or would you prefer I say it's because they're all a bunch of sadists and or greedy, selfish and heartless bastards that either want to see people suffer or simply don't care about them? Well, seeing as nobody's coming forth to confess how they're some wicked sadistic monster and instead all just wave and smile saying that they're for peace and prosperity, I'm going to make them live up to their own words and force them to play along in the charade that they are good people at heart who simply want to make the world a better place. Now, seeing as they're all good people, their problem is that they aren't willing to face the reality that their methods of peace talks, etc. are not able to get the job done. Seeing as how I have such severe criticism of the current ways people are trying to tackle or mostly not tackle this issue, because they don't even know what the problem is in the first place, I should at least have some kind of theory on a method that could potentially solve this issue. Right? Correct. So what is it that could possibly accomplish this? People have been trying for thousands of years to live in harmony with each other through religion, teachings, ways of life, politics, you name it. The concept is so far off from being a reality that humans cannot mentally fabricate a truly peaceful world. A world where humans are in a true harmonic synergy with each other. Don't you dare try to refute me with talk about some heaven or paradise, a peaceful religious sect or something like that. They lack true productivity. Without that productivity there's no welfare, and without welfare people will only fight over the few resources that exist and therefore they can't produce peace long term. So then how do I think I could come up with a solution? Well, let's not worry about such details. Just take a look at my proposition later on and you can decide for yourself if it's reasonable or not. Besides, someone else may very well have come up with a similar solution as this one for all I know, but it may simply not have received enough attention to become well known. Before I reveal what it is, I think it would be best to lead you through the process of how I came to this answer. Otherwise there's a chance that you simply wouldn't even listen to what I have to say, as this isn't exactly your most normal way of doing things per se. One of the greatest mistakes people make when trying to end conflicts in general is that they're trying to get rid of the official reasons people use to justify fighting with each other. If you look at most wars, the leaders usually can't be honest with the masses why they're fighting, and when it comes to personal conflicts between people it's very often just to let off steam, and the arguments can be very void of logic and reason, just repeating the same thing over and over as if it's rather about psychological warfare than actually conveying something sensible. They usually can't give you the real reason for the conflict, often because they don't know the fundamental reason their subconscious mind has themselves, or even if they do know, no one would accept it even if they made it known. Anyway, dealing with the official issue may end the current conflict at hand, but, as history shows, these simply appear time and time again, indicating that one haven't gotten to the root cause to conflicts being born in the first place. Some people have thus come to the conclusion that there's something behind the scenes that causes human conflict, be it supernatural creatures messing with human affairs, inherent evil nature, wicked people, etc. But they've had thousands of years to try all their methods and they've clearly haven't done such a good job. I mean, 2 world wars broke out in just the 20th century, and smaller wars, or more politically correctly extremely escalated disagreements between officially highly civilized individuals that lead to lots of people losing their lives left and right due to the highly civilized political discussions having transitioned from being verbal to physical and involving a lot of gunfire among other very effective and brutal methods to torment and end the lives of those who don't support their opinions. Seeing as having one's conflicts being called war is sort of taboo for many countries these days, go on constantly all over the world, due to those not-so-scientific methods being very ineffective at stopping conflicts, people have mostly transitioned to the former ones. We have so little control over human behavior that it seems easier to change a human on the outside than on the inside. Mainly referring to transgender people if you didn't catch that part. In the case of violence and human conflict though, you can't simply cheat your way through the problem in such a manner. I mean, what are you going to do? Turn every conflict-prone individual into the demon they are on the inside perhaps? How's that going to make people more harmonic? Therefore I think that that's where this problem needs to be solved. The hardwired nature of human beings. I mean, if you could just fix it there, then the whole problem could potentially even go away on its own. The thing is though that so-called good people, the kind who aren't prone to create or drive conflicts, have existed for a long time but for some reason haven't taken over yet. The question we should be asking ourselves is, why is this? It would seem then that being conflict-prone somehow is an evolutionary advantage for humans to some degree. If we look at similar animals to humans, this is true among them as well. Now this is a real problem. Why? Because if it's an evolutionary advantage it means that no matter how much we get rid of conflict-prone people to make these traits go away from humanity, the conflict-prone people will just come back, making this problem come back again and again. But hold on a second. That kind of reminds me of human history of how they establish peace and it goes on for some time and then conflicts reappear again and they in turn deal with them but then they just reappear again down the line, and the cycle continues. Our problem then is the evolutionary environment humans are in. Therefore we need to figure out how to make it one where humans become truly peaceful and harmonic. Now I know evolution isn't known for being a friend of ethics or the first place you look at to make good people or to make the world a better place, but maybe controlling it can come to solve this issue for us. If one could possibly tweak the conditions humans live under, it can be the key to steering humanity in our desired direction. In our case that would be one where humans stop fighting with each other. The follow-up question then becomes, why would it be beneficial for humans to be brutal to and harm other humans in this world? Why does that enable them to thrive in this world? Seeing as the normal complex reasonings of highly intellectual and so-called enlightened individuals on why human conflicts exists usually never gets us anywhere near any good answers other than giving us pseudo-understanding on the issue. Perhaps we should take a more simple approach by looking at other less intelligent animals than ourselves to find patterns on what fundamental instincts causes conflict among them. Perhaps then we can find a solution. You may be thinking I look down on humans by doing this, but from my observations humans are generally driven by the same desires as other animals. The only difference is that they have an intelligent mind that covers up and suppresses those they are ashamed of, making them seem much more sophisticated than they really are. When it comes to dealing with this problem one can't simply ignore such things, but one must be willing to see people for what they really are. Anyway, let's see what similarities we can find. At first, one might think of the difference between herbivores and carnivores and think that going vegan is the solution. I mean, herbivores can be kind towards each other, even across the species' boundaries, but one should know that there are many cases of herbivores fighting to the death with each other, so I don't think that going vegan is the answer here. What I think we should be looking for is what species can be in the largest group without infighting. That would be something like ants and bees, right? Some may argue that ants fight a lot among each other, but that is inter-colony fighting but not within the same colony. Bees also have conflicts but the same applies to them. Well, unless there's two queens at once, that is. Ant colonies can have the same number of inhabitants as that of a city without infighting. Instead most of them spend all day selflessly working on things that need to be done that benefits the community they belong to. Sounds perfect for human society, right? Even when taking that with a big pinch of salt, it could still enable us to see drastic positive changes in our society if we could apply the same things for humans. The question then arises, what is it that causes them to be so harmonic and cooperative on such a large scale among each other? Some may say it's their lack of intelligence, but I'm not so convinced by that. There are a lot of other insects of similar intelligence level that fight among each other, so that argument doesn't hold up. Also, it's not like ants don't fight, just not within the colony. With other colonies and those of other species, They have brutal and merciless battles. The question one should be asking is why ants stick together in such large groups to begin with. They don't band together and form a society like humans do. Rather, they all come from the same queen ant. One could technically say that the ant colony is a large family and all they do is help and protect their mother and their siblings and basically kill any other family or individual they run into, regardless of the species they belong to. A similar system also applies to bees. Wait a minute, could this be it? Could it be that the way humans are reproduced is the main reason they've evolved to have conflicts between each other? If one looks at a lot of other animals that reproduce the same way we do, one can clearly see it's a major reason for them to be fighting between each other. For example, when it comes to the mating rights. Now, I know it's not just to mate but also territory and resources they fight over, but you should know that some animals like lions, for example, when a new leader in a pride arises, they mercilessly kill off cubs of the previous pride leader. Why? To make room for their own cubs in the pride. Kind of sounds like some leaders through history mercilessly slaughtering those that don't belong to them, don't you agree? On the other hand, ants and bees share their resources and space selflessly in the colony and hive and have no problem taking care of offspring that aren't their own.